So hello everyone, this is Michael Farthing at MegaPath, Senior Sales Engineer with the channel program. And we are recording today's session, so that will be available from your channel manager later. Another housekeeping note is if you will please put all of your questions in the chat area, then I'll be answering all of your questions right at the end. But as we go through the program, if you have questions, please go ahead and put them right in that chat area. That would be great. So today's session is on our MegaPath SD-WAN, both our Pro and Enterprise, talking about how to compete and win. And we'll be going through not only what SD-WAN is here at MegaPath and a couple of solutions, but also I've got a demonstration of our SD-WAN Enterprise, and I think you'll be very pleased to see that. And then we're going to also talk extensively about the service delivery programs here at MegaPath, both initial install as well as ongoing support. So let's jump right in. And again, as you have questions, please put them in that chat window, and I'll answer all of the chat questions at the end of the session. So first off, an update on MegaPath. Not everyone realizes the expansive portfolio that MegaPath has, or how long we've been around and competing for business and working with partners and clients. So we are a nationwide provider of access, voice, and security services. We provide 100% US-based support in our two NOCs in Herndon, Virginia and Seattle, Washington. So we follow the daylight for you. But we're available 24/7, 365 in our support centers. And we've been doing this for 22 years. So we're not a come to the show recently type situation. We find that organizations have very expansive success with us across our entire voice platform and unified communications. That's a hot topic, and today is we're all here for SD-WAN. Also know that MegaPath can provide managed Wi-Fi in addition to circuits all over the country. Now, as a US-based provider and US-focused solution, we do have things like US phone numbers and at the moment US deployment of our access and SD-WAN, but that is something we're looking at for our international deployment of, say, SD-WAN. Wanted to also share with you many of our success stories. As you see, we've got quite a few verticals, everything from restaurant and retail through manufacturing and finance and healthcare. We help organizations be both PCI compliant, HIPAA compliant, FINRA compliant, as well as just follow best security practices. And that's what you can do right here with MegaPath and SD-WAN. I'd also like to highlight right away, because a big part of outcomes that you'll be able to achieve with MegaPath is through combining SD-WAN Enterprise and a circuit from MegaPath, such as T1 or Ethernet, and another circuit, customer's choice, then they will be able to achieve 100% uptime. We're so confident that there is an immense SLA credit that I'll show you next, but MegaPath RED is very cool. So not only does it give really the best possible performance and best possible uptime for the clients so that their sites are up and staying in business and having the best speed and the best cloud performance with their applications, but they'll also be able to get from us proactive monitoring, meaning tickets are opened up automatically, email notifications go out, so we know before the customer knows that there's a challenge and we're already working to fix it. We also want to extend to our best clients that have MegaPath RED discounts on MegaPath Voice, so 10% off all of our voice services. MegaPath RED clients also receive the absolute highest level of support, the highest priority in our technical support teams for both ticket handling and speed to answer and everything. So minimal waits and fastest possible resolution on anything that might be going on. And because we feel so strongly, so the bean counters looked at this and said, you've minimized the risk in all possible ways, so we feel so strongly about this that we will give either 50% of the monthly recurring cost for that location or a $1,000 bill credit, whichever is greater if we don't meet the 100% uptime SLA at that site. So very amazing. That's definitely an industry-leading move by MegaPath, and I think that's something that you'll find that customers really love the idea of. Huge credits if something does go wrong, but building out a solution so that it doesn't. Now let's turn towards SD-WAN itself a little bit and also some background on it. So today, wide area networks, oftentimes that means either a do-it-yourself solution or like a point solution or MPLS quite often. And of course, with all of the traffic, for the most part, moving to the cloud, right? People are moving from their own in-house data centers out to cloud-based solutions, and the fact that just what we're doing and how we're doing it is growing, that Gartner, for example, here finds that enterprise network traffic is doubling every 3 years roughly. So not only do you need much more bandwidth, but you need a better way of managing it all. And in a typical environment like MPLS, that's very expensive, or maybe just not even all that possible, especially if a customer is on T1s, maybe that's all the site can really get to connect to their MPLS network. Obviously, that's not much bandwidth and very expensive, not a good thing. Now, another challenge that customers run into is, in so many cases, way too many times, sites have just a single circuit. And even if there's an uptime of say 3 nines, 99.9% uptime and an SLA around that, if you examine the hours in a year, that still means a day of downtime every year. In addition to, some circuit types also are very highly likely to have what we are terming brownouts, meaning the circuit's not down, traffic is still passing somewhat, but you might have high latency, a jitter, some packet loss, things that will cause applications to not perform very well, like voice and video especially. So brownouts are a problem, but even if you just look at hard downs, with a 3.9 SLA, that means you're going to be down once a year, basically. So, if we look at enterprises, and what does that cost an organization? Well, in the larger enterprises, they say an hour of downtime can cost $100,000. So what does almost 9 hours of downtime look like, right? That's $1 million a day, essentially, for your bigger organizations. And obviously, that's the big ones. But even your small business customers, what's a day of downtime cost them in productivity and maybe lost sales, lost revenue? Not a good scenario. So we're encouraging everyone to move towards a solution where they have multiple circuits and SD-WAN to manage and get them the best possible uptime. So here's at the bottom kind of example of what it might look like to connect out to the cloud or the data center, multiple circuits between the branch locations and the gear in the data center to make it all work. So with MegaPath, you have a solution that gets them not just one option, but actually two. We term them Pro and Enterprise. I've got a feature breakdown on the next page that we'll talk about the differences there. And also a huge differentiator with MegaPath and how you can win over with us is that we do not lock you in to MegaPath Voice or MegaPath Circuits if you want to have SD-WAN. We will put both of our SD-WAN solutions over whatever circuits the customer has or can get or might want to get from us. So of course we would love to provide the whole pie to them, but if SD-WAN is what they need because they've already got circuits, then great. Over the top will work just fine too. And this is not a solution where you have to be a multi-site customer. For example, SD-WAN Pro has a lot of security built right in, and everybody needs a router and a firewall. So even a single location with one circuit, they can still get benefit from us. So for us, managed router, managed firewall, we're going to all term it SD-WAN, but know that we can customize the solution for what they're looking for. This isn't a one-size-fits-all. This is not just a only one type of customer can benefit. Rather, really the world is our oyster here. And this is a fully managed solution from MegaPath. And what that means is this is not a hardware play. We're not just shipping out hardware and there you go. Rather, this is a service that somebody will invest in an OpEx-style manner, and it's all installed. All the licensing is taken care of by MegaPath. All the support, all the changes are handled by MegaPath. The customer really just has to say go. There's no hardware to buy. You're not exactly renting it. It's just part of the service that you're getting from us. Also, when you initially get going, customer doesn't have to know it all. They'll be working with a sales engineer, such as myself, where we will gather some input from the customer, things like firewall rules or content filtering, talk about what are their goals with the project, what are the outcomes supposed to be, and then we'll put it up and send it off to the install team to then implement. And even though they might make some decisions about how things should look today, that doesn't mean changes can't happen down the road, because they absolutely can. You can always contact the support team and make changes to those firewall rules, for example, or content filtering rules. Beyond that, we find it's actually just a very stable solution. We don't hear from customers a whole lot because it's not going down. It's up. It's working. It's awesome. Also, during the whole install phase, we have a project manager that is assigned to the solution, and they become the primary point of contact for everything. They hold, for example, weekly calls. They send status emails. If you have a question, reach right out to that project manager. And we do have project managers that are focused specifically in the channel swim lane, so working with the partner side versus, say, the direct side. We've tried to make swim lanes for everything all the way up through the organization so that partners have the same repeatable process, same people that they're always going to. Give some good, nice continuity. We talked about this before, but know that all of our support personnel from service delivery, whether that's the install side or the ongoing support side, program management, they're all US-based right here in country. So very nice there. Now let's examine a little bit about Pro versus Enterprise. Two different solutions, a little bit different focuses perhaps, but let me lay it out for you. With Pro, this is where we put a security appliance at the customer location, and that device can be everything from a router to firewall to full unified threat management security appliance. So we don't have to necessarily turn everything on, but it's all baked in and available there for you. Pro does look at the world at a session level, meaning it's examining the streams as they touch that device, and it can make decisions based on those sessions as it sees them. It is possible to load balance across a couple of circuits. It can do up to 2 wired circuits, and via USB port, we can plug in a wireless connection, 3G, 4G, LTE style. It is possible to put in high availability, meaning a couple of active boxes if needed. Usually at branch locations you wouldn't do that, but at a data center, for example, would be a good spot where you would. Certainly, UTM, firewall, router, all standard parts of the solution. Also know that if a circuit goes down and then comes back up, the traffic will be moved appropriately between those circuits across the security appliance and the Pro setup. Now, if there's any questions about Pro, now's a good time to put them right into that chat area. And now let's turn to Enterprise for just a second. So Enterprise is a little bit different architecture. Enterprise is what's known as a network-based solution. And by that we mean not only is there a device at the customer location, there's also a gateway on the other end of the last mile, or a data center. We call it the gateway. And so in an enterprise solution, it is actually looking at everything at the packet level. And it's doing so both at the gateway and at the device at the customer location. So it's seeing all of the traffic, both directions, all the time. And because of that, it's able to do some more things around traffic shaping and buffering and monitoring and everything from forward error correction to bidirectional priority routing. So all this is built in to give the best possible last mile performance, whether it's one circuit or multiple. You can actually put up to 6 circuits at the highest level into the enterprise devices. And so folks that need the highest possible last mile performance, and or they need real-time application failover, for example, for voice or video, Enterprise is the route you'd want to go because it's the one that does the real-time failover, whereas Pro does take about a minute to fail over between circuits. So here's how we typically see this breakdown for organizations, like who gets what. So usually Enterprise is going to be picked up by those large site type situations, a big office building, an organization that's several office buildings. And you can absolutely with both do VPNs if you need to, but Enterprise is primarily where you need that real-time application failover, or you want to make sure you have best possible last mile performance. Whereas Pro is typically used by those organizations like restaurants or retail where, yeah, sure, maybe voice is important, but it's not the death blow to the organization if a call drops for a minute. So a lot of times very distributed enterprises, like I said, restaurants, retail are using Pro, smaller locations, spots where that real-time failover is not a requirement. And in the current state, all of the security is just built into one box in the Pro solution. In our enterprise arena, very soon that we'll have a Fortinet firewall available, and that will be a second box. So you'll have the SD-WAN enterprise box in front, and then a Fortinet firewall right behind it, or customer firewall. Now what I'd like to do is talk about some of the comparisons between having SD-WAN enterprise and not having it. So in this case, we're talking about a situation where you've got on the left-hand side, just standard failover, no SD-WAN enterprise. You've got one circuit in this scenario that is a cable circuit. The other one is a clean bonded T1. On the right-hand side, you've got SD-WAN enterprise, and it is actively doing link remediation and dynamic path selection. Now, both sides have 2% packet loss. Again, on the left, no SD-WAN enterprise. On the right, you have it. And this is what it actually looks like. So notice on the left-hand side, enterprise is not there, 2% packet loss. It's pretty garbled. Nobody would want to have this video conference or have to watch this video, right? It's almost painful. You can't really tell what's going on. On the right-hand side, exact same circuits, exact same packet loss, but SD-WAN enterprise is fixing it. It's remediating the challenges. We call this that brownout scenario. Circuits are not hard down, so there's no failover that would actually occur in a normal scenario, right? There's no complete loss of traffic. But here, with SD-WAN enterprise, it fixes the problems and puts the traffic where it needs to go, even though there has been no failover. So very nice there. Again, any questions? Right into the chat window if you would, please. Next, what I'd like to do is show you what real-time application failover looks like. So let me move out of this, and we're going to move over to my window here. And so this is a dashboard into our SD-WAN enterprise area. And in this section, we've got a couple of circuits here up at the top. We can see that both are connected to the platform. VPN status is up. Circuits are up, passing traffic. It's seeing this in real time. And what we're going to do is just show you what it looks like. So I'm going to do a countdown. And at some point in the countdown, one of the circuits will have a catastrophic failure. And you'll see that right away, because the link status will turn red, and let's see what happens. So countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're all still here. You can still hear me. I can still hear you. Nothing happened with the call. I'm estimating there was no loss in any of the numbers that I was speaking, but you saw instantly that that circuit is now hard down. Now, why don't we go ahead and quickly just do it back up the other way. I'll plug it back in at some random point, and you'll see it come back live. And again, no loss in audio whatsoever. Call stays live. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. We just kept going right along. Notice it does take just a second for the system to reconnect. It does a couple of tests, and once it's satisfied that that's a good working circuit again, then it starts passing traffic over it. But in the meantime, that other circuit was there and able to take care of everything also. What I'd also like to point out to you is what's happening for link remediation, forward error correction, buffering, etc. So we can click over on a different tab and take a look at what's been happening, in this case, last 24 hours. So we're going to start at the bottom first. So you've got these two circuits. Looks like one is performing almost perfectly. The other one has had some challenges in the last 24 hours. You're actually able to come in here and look at it and be like, oh, okay, some jitter there. Oh, look, an actual outage for a period of time. Some more challenges around latency. So if you only had this one circuit, people would notice. Once in a while your calls would be choppy or something, or hey, there's no internet right now, and it'd be kind of annoying. The other circuit's working pretty well, so put those together, and here's what the actual performance for the end users is. That's why we call it quality of experience. People at this site would have experienced this top row here, and notice that the top row is almost perfection. Right? So calls are happening, videos are happening, we're doing conferences. I mean, I'm literally using this service right now, right? So it turns your inexpensive commodity circuits that sometimes work great and sometimes not so great into working almost perfectly all of the time, and you've got redundancy built in, which for many organizations they never had before. So all around good stuff. Now with SD-WAN, we can do everything from build in business priorities around, do I send this kind of traffic over one circuit or the other? Do I send this kind of a split tunnel fashion directly out to the internet, or do I want it optimized through that optimization tunnel. So lots of great control around it, but know that this is the way to have awesome performance over whatever circuits happen to be out there. The questions on SD-WAN Enterprise, please put them right into the chat area. And let me bring up our window here. Give me just a quick second. We will get right back into it here. Okay, so turning now towards the service delivery side of it. So I want to make you all aware that at MegaPath, we take great care in trying to do it right the first time. And if something does go haywire, fixing it fast and providing great communication all the way throughout it. So we have a very organized process plans for the setup, gathering details, going through the program management, and arriving at the other end with a successful install. And then ongoing great support, where, for example, we measure all of our support personnel on things like first call resolution. Our goal is to, as much as possible, solve whatever it might be on that very first call, and not have to have anybody, call back or need to follow up continuously. Very, very key for us. So for a solution, an install solution, starts obviously with the contract and service order, gathering all the details so that the install team knows what to put together. Project manager is the single point of contact during the process. So the different teams here at MegaPath all interact with that project manager, and they're working with you and with the client. Executive sponsorship. This team, for example, is headed by Pamela Fiorentino, who is a black belt in Six Sigma. And we also, all of our larger projects have SLT, a senior leadership team member, who sponsors that individual project and is constantly following up. Also, every week, we have meetings where everyone from the CEO to the president to the service delivery vice president are all talking about deals and where things are. Where do we need to do course corrections, because we want to install it right, promptly and accurately, so the customer is left with a great solution they can move forward with. We always want to do it in a very organized fashion, and of course have a very careful install, because we don't want to create more hardship for the customer. We'd rather that the risk be on us and the challenges be on us to solve rather than be on the customer. So for a deployment, here's what it looks like. We start up front with designing it. So that's where sales engineers such as myself and the clients and you work together to outline exactly what should happen at each site, things like firewall rules, VLANs, subnets, content filtering rules. We gather that all together so the install team knows what to put in. And then working with the project manager, the timelines are all put together. When should we install which sites and where? And the hardware is shipped, batches are scheduled, circuits are installed, and again, the project manager is the one who's coordinating all of that, providing the daily or weekly updates. Very, very common to have a weekly call, for example. On install day, the technician goes out and would, say, cross-connect any circuits, would install our SD-WAN devices, or also if it's something like managed Wi-Fi or MegaPath Voice, that can also be installed all then as well. We always want to test and certify that the circuit is up and working properly, that the SD-WAN devices are connecting, VPNs are standing up properly, and then when that is tested successful, then the tech leaves, and a customer is then able to use their solution. In a visual spot, this just gives you a sense of when we roll trucks, for example, the different stages of an order. Of course, our goal is to get it up as fast as possible for the customer, and then when it does turn up, that's when billing begins. So not when the service order is signed or anything. Some highlights here for you. Our average speed to answer, and this was in the first quarter of this year, was 1 minute 11 seconds. So pretty darn quick. For first call resolution, voice, standing at 80%, and first call resolution for access is 70%. A little bit different there. Why the difference is with voice, it's if something needs to be fixed, it's usually something we can do right that moment. But with access, a lot of times a dispatch might need to happen in order for the situation to be considered resolved. And so obviously that's not necessarily something that can happen, on that call right that second. But of course, tickets in place, customers can always view through the admin portal the tickets and see notes. And the techs are very good about sending out email updates, for example, and adding notes into the tickets to be viewed. So Epic program, again, this is our in-depth support for our enterprise customers, where they're given access to our senior technicians. And the only thing higher in priority to Epic would be MegaPath RED. Otherwise, Epic is our topmost of support. Again, that is a team that is reached by clients by calling a direct toll-free number and a PIN. Routes right over to them. It's a top priority queue. And we do a team approach here still, is because you wouldn't want just a single person supporting a customer, because things happen, vacation, somebody might get sick. So here it's our most skilled and qualified technicians. We're going to work in a team environment to help that customer. But if customers have been with us a while, they'll recognize the names, and they get used to talking to the same folks. Many of our senior people here have been here upwards of 10, 15 years, for example. So we very much appreciate our customers and also the technicians that are working in this group. Also wanted to give you a view into a customer portal and give you an example of what you can do. So in the admin portal, or My MegaPath as we call it, this allows clients to do everything from view and pay their bill, for voice, get a list of all of the calls that have been made or received, but also they can manage certainly voice, but they can manage the services that they have with us, get reports. This particular view happens to be our enterprise portal, so for the largest customers, they have a little bit more reporting on circuits and stuff that they can do. But SMB has a fantastic portal as well. Great way to interact with support if need be. So if you want to put in a ticket, maybe something needs to be changed, but you don't need it right this second, put in a ticket, we'll work it, get back to you on resolution. Like I said, view and pay your bill. You can control who has access to the portal. You can give that to, certainly partners can be tier 1 if they wish, or various personnel on the customer side can all be part of that. And so we've won awards around the portal and always looking to make improvements to it. And there's my fellow saying, hey, talk to me, but let me move that back out of the way. And so now I welcome other questions around service delivery, portal, SD-WAN, what have you. Got my contact information right here. But please let me know what questions you have. Happy to help. I don't have any questions right yet from everyone. Must have done a fantastic job in answering them all preemptively for you. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.